Hey everybody, welcome back to I Do Stand Up. I'm stand-up comedian Jason Collings. Thank you for the support, you guys. A lot of people are commenting, a lot of people are giving me feedback, advice that a lot of it I'm taking. Make sure you continue to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell on this channel so you know when anything's coming at you from me. A new episode of this, a new stand-up reel, a new video, a new special, whatever. Keep yourself notified. Today I want to talk about a comedy club that's very special to me because it's the very first club that I ever did stand-up at. It's not only that, it's the very first place I ever did stand-up. See, my stand-up story is a little different than a lot of people. I started right away at a comedy club. I didn't do an open mic. I didn't do the coffee house thing or a bar show or anything like that. What I did, and this is my story, this is not how it works, is I went to a club in North Hollywood, California called the Ha Ha Cafe and Comedy Club. Back then, I believe it was called the Ha Ha Cafe and Comedy Club. I think they're just the Ha Ha Comedy Club now, but I went to that club, had no idea how it worked. And I went to the door and I asked for the owner of the club. I said, can I speak to the owner? Again, I didn't know anything about bookers or anything like that. Open mics, I had no idea. And by the way, I was already 35 years old when I started. So I was kind of I was in a hurry a little bit, which I don't recommend to new comics. Don't be in a hurry. Take your time. Work on your shit. But I was 35 years old. My father had just passed away. I was questioning my own humanity. How much time do I have left? All that shit. So I wanted to fast track it. And so I went to the comedy club called the Ha Ha Cafe and Comedy Club there in North Hollywood, California. And I walked up to the door. I believe I was with my brother. I think, yeah, David was with me. We walked to the door, and the door guy said, can I help you? I said, yeah, I need to speak to the owner. That's how I thought it worked. They're like, why? I go, well, I was told to come here. Some friends of mine told me that this club, that I should come perform at this club. Those friends, by the way, were Joe Coy and Fraser Smith. The night before this ridiculous thing that I did, I was at believe it was the Brea Improv, just to watch my buddy do stand-up. I was there with Joe Coy, Fraser Smith, and John Lovitz. And that particular night just lit the fire. I was like, I gotta go do this. So I went there and I asked for the owner. I might sound like I'm sick a little bit, but it's spring and I'm a big nerd, so I have allergies. So I'm gonna go like this a few times. Don't let it bother you. It would bother the fuck out of me, but don't let it bother you. So I go to the club, North Hollywood. Joe Coy told me, you got to go to the Ha Ha. It's a great club. You'll do the open mic there. I didn't know what the fuck that meant. So I asked for the owner. The owner comes out. I said, hi. I introduced myself. The owner, by the way, Jack Asadorian Sr., and his wife, Terry Asadorian, they own the Ha Ha Comedy Club. They're great people. If you're in the comedy world, you're definitely familiar with Jack Jr. He's all over your social media. He's a great comedian. These are his parents that own this club. So Jack Sr. comes out. He says, can I help you? And I says, yeah, my name is Jason Collings. I'm a comedian. My buddy, I dropped the name. I said, my buddy Joe Coy told me to come here. I was with Joe Coy, John Lovitz, and Fraser Smith last night. 3 legends in stand-up. So those were great names to drop. And they told me that you guys are the club to come to, and I should come here and perform. Never done it before in my life. Jack says, well, how long have you been doing stand-up? I said, I've been doing stand-up for about 5 years. Complete and total lie. Never touched a stage ever. He says, 5 years. I says, yeah. He goes, where are you from? I said, I'm from Long Beach, California. I do a lot of shows down in Orange County and around here, but I thought I'd come here and give it. And he said, and Joe Coy and John Lovitz and those guys told you to come here. I said, yeah, that's what they said. He goes, okay. Come back tomorrow. I'll put you on the show tomorrow. Now, mind you, tomorrow was an actual show. It wasn't an open mic. It wasn't none of it. It was a show. And I said, okay. Again, remember, I don't know how all of this works. So the following evening, the next day, my brother and I were sitting on the porch at his place. And we're sitting there trying to write comedy. We're trying to write comedy. I have a pad and paper, and I got a pen. And one of the things that you should know about me is I've never been studious. I was a horrible student. Anytime anything felt like an assignment, you lost me. So this wasn't working. So I was like, you know what? I told my brother, I said, I'll just wing it. I'll just talk. I'll just talk about my kids. I'll talk about my life on stage and just try to make it funny. But also another thing you have to remember is before I did stand-up, for 20 years, I was teaching large groups of people. I was a martial arts teacher. And I was teaching 4 to 5 one-hour classes a day, all ages. So memorizing things was pretty easy for me to do. Like memorizing a set and stuff. Like I have my 1 hour special that's here on my channel, but it was also on Amazon. None of it was written down. It was all off the top of my head. The one time that I was required to write down material was when I got in 2013, I got The Tonight Show. I booked The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and they need a transcript of the act. So I just called a friend and I said, look, I'm going to send you a recording. Can you write it out for me? They're like, yeah. And Bella, don't be a bitch. I'm doing something. Bella's yelling at the neighbors. And so this person did that for me, sent it to me. So now I had the transcript and I sent it in. I'm just lazy when it comes to writing. Also, my writing is terrible. I can barely read it. So it would be a disaster anyways. So I decided to wing it. I decided to wing it. I said, let's just figure it out. So we show up to the show at the Ha Ha Comedy Club. And I had been to the Improv, I had been to the Laugh Factory, I've been to the Comedy Store. When me and my buddies were younger, one of the cool things that we thought to do for a date when we turned 18 was to take a girl to a comedy club. So I've been going to comedy clubs since I was a pretty young guy. And I grew up in the LA area. So they were, just a 20-minute drive down the road. But I had never been to the Ha Ha Comedy Club. And when I walked in that place and I saw the people and I saw the lights and I saw the other comedians, that was the very first time that I'm like, oh, this is real comedy. This is real comedy. This is a real comedy club. Nobody on this lineup is really famous. This is a world of stand-up that I had never seen before. Because my introduction to comedy was hanging out with very established comedians, going to the very established A clubs on Saturday nights, Bella, still in the middle of it. Okay. So it felt really cool. And there's a smell to that place. Not a bad smell. It's just like it's just everything there, And to this day, that smell will every once in a while creep into my nose, and it's just like a really cool memory. So I show up, and the person hosting walks up to me. He says, "Are you Jason?" I says, "Yeah, I'm Jason." He goes, "Great. I'm going to put you up third, and you're doing 15 minutes. Now, at the time, like I said, I'm brand new. I don't know any of this stuff. I don't understand that third is the sweet spot. I don't understand that 15 minutes is an amazing amount of time to do for your very first time doing stand-up. Because remember, that day, during the day, I taught 4 classes that were all an hour long, and I had to keep all those people's attention and for that entire hour. And I taught with humor. So I'm like, I'm just going to make it out. So I just thought, okay, 15 minutes, whatever, light. And then he said, I'm going to light you at 12. That's what he said. Yeah, it was like a 3-minute light. I'll light you at 12. I had no idea what he was talking about. The light. No idea. You're probably wondering, how did you not know what that was if you're hanging out at these comedy clubs? I'm not behind the scenes. I'm in the audience watching my friends. And I'll never forget one night, I'm at the Hollywood Improv. And if you've ever been to the Improv or any comedy club, you'll notice sometimes that there's a red light that will come on in the back of the room. A lot of times it's hidden in the lighting that only the comedian on stage can see. But at the Improv at this time, it was like 2004 or 5. It was just this red light bulb on the back wall. And I would always sit in the back because those were always the seats that were available, because I was sneaking in with my friends that were on the shows. And I remember that light coming on and it bugging me. And I didn't know that it was for the comedians. I thought it was a signal to the waitstaff. I had no idea what it was. So when I'm at the Ha Ha this night and that guy tells me I'm going to light you at 12, I had no idea what he meant. But I said, okay, because I didn't want him to know that I'm full of shit. So then it's my turn. I go on stage. I have a pretty good set. For my first time in doing 15 minutes, it was fun. I'm sitting in the stool. I'm doing callbacks. I'm talking to the audience. It was a lot of fun. It was very, very cool. And at the time I was doing it, I was thinking, I'm doing good. And you gotta understand, in stand-up and with a lot of stand-up comics, there's a lot of delusion. There's a lot of delusional fucking people, right? And I'm thinking, am I delusional? But this feels like it's going well. I mean, I can't tell you how many comedians I've watched just eat shit on stage and then come off and go, that's a pretty good set. I just killed it. Just a lot of delusion in this business. So I'm worried that I'm having it because I'm thinking like, this is going great. They're liking me. They're smiling. I didn't invite anybody I knew except my brother. My brother was the only person for the first almost year of doing stand-up. My brother, David, was the only guy, family, friend, whatever, that I would allow to come watch me because I was terrified that, I've always had a fear of failing. And I always want to do it right. And I always want to do, like, for example, one year we went snowboarding. I've never snowboarded before. I was horrible at it, so I never did it again. And I didn't want that to happen with comedy because I loved the art of stand-up comedy so much. I had so much respect for it. So I was like, let me not bring my family, my wife, nobody, my kids, nobody, my mom, and nobody came except for David. And he was in the audience that night. And then while I'm on stage, the guy that was hosting that night, from the back of the room, and it was early 06, so it was a flip phone. We didn't have the smartphones that we have now. So he opens his flip phone and starts going like this, got a little flashlight on it, and he starts waving it. And I'm like, why the hell is this guy waving his phone at me? I had no idea. I'm like, I thought, and you understand with the lights, you can't really see who it is. So I thought maybe that's my brother telling me I got a phone call. Maybe my wife was calling me, telling me to get my head right and come home. But then I realized that's the guy running the show. That's the light he was talking about. That's my cue to wrap it up. I wrapped it up, got a great reaction. I wasn't getting like a standing ovation or crazy applause breaks or anything like that, but it was a good set, especially for somebody that had never done it before. So then I get off stage, and the owner of the club walks up to me, and I thought, this is it. I'm done. And he says, great set. Come back tomorrow. You're on the show tomorrow as well. And I've been doing stand-up comedy ever since. And I have the Ha Ha Comedy Club, the Ha Ha Cafe and Comedy Club, and the Acidorian family to thank for that, because they were the first people to ever give me stage time. And it wasn't because they had faith in me. It's because I fucking lied to them. And the funniest thing is, today he knows that. If you ever meet him and say, hey, I know Jason Collings, Jack will say, oh, I got a great story about that guy. He lied to me. He tells the story exactly like I told it. So yeah, that's pretty much the story of how I got into stand-up comedy. And from that show, I was consistently on that show every week for probably a good 4 to 5 months. And then Fraser Smith took me, the one I told you I was with the night before I started stand-up, took me and Chris D'Elia over to the Ice House one night after the Ha Ha show and got us our first spots at the Ice House. And then you kind of meet people from there who run shows at other clubs, and then you get into those shows, and then that management sees you, and then that booker sees you, and this is just kind of how it grows. I can't speak too much on how it is today, but back then, that's just how it was. It was relationships. You met a guy who knew a guy, you met a guy who knew a guy, and then you just built it from there. But the very first spot where I planted that seed was the stage at the Ha Ha Cafe and Comedy Club, the original location, which is a block or two down the street from where it's at now. But it still has the same vibe, the same logo, the same color, the same people. It's just a great club. As a new comedian, I strongly suggest that you go to that club, check out the open mic for sure, but also go to some shows, hang out. It's got a great front bar area. They got great food. Go check out that place. It's still to this day one of my favorites. And again, thank you guys so much at the Ha Ha for giving me that opportunity. And thank y'all for continuing to watch I Do Stand Up. Make sure you continue to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when a new something on this channel is coming at you. Until then, thanks guys. Talk to you later. Bye.